What is up, everybody? It is DJ Martini Midwest Reviews coming at you with another video for my channel. Today we're going to be talking about tapes and can they return. So we're going to get into a little bit of history, a little bit of information, and a little bit of retro nostalgia as well. So definitely going to get into it. Thank you guys for tuning in to DJ Martini Midwest Reviews. If you've never tuned in, just know I love to do reviews, I love to do tutorials, and I'm just here to help do that research for you, give it as easy as possible, and then leave some links in case you're interested in some of the things that we talk about, if there is. So thank you guys so much. Please like, subscribe, hit the bell notifications, all that good stuff, and let's reach 10,000 guys. I think we can, and I would be super excited and stoked if we could. All right, other than that, let's get into the history on tapes. So this is kind of the dull part, but you know, there's always history in something, and I'm glad to bring it to you guys. So if you didn't know that tapes have been around since 1963, I did not know that actually. I as a child, my dad had a lot of vinyl records, and records were really popular in my household till at least the late 80s, and I really didn't know about tapes until about the 90s. When I saw, you know, these Sony Walkmans that came out and made them super popular to have a tape. And so about that age for me in the 90s, they were super popular, tapes were, but vinyl was always around, and I didn't know tapes had been around since 1963. If you didn't know, Philips kind of invented the tape back in Europe, and they were more for office dictation purposes. They did kind of come from the reel-to-reel, and if you've never seen a reel-to-reel, I do have one. They're super heavy, cumbersome. I don't have the tapes in there, but this thing is super heavy, and this is like a giant tape player. But that's basically what it is, guys. And they just made it smaller, more compact, and more easy for dictation purposes, to talk, to voice over, things like that. And you know, they came up with this little guy and a little tape recorder kind of like this, and you could make a tape or listen to tapes. In 1965, a few artists actually released their music on tapes, and by that time it was definitely in the United States. And so, you know, 1963 and up, the tape was around, it was out there, and it was very much being used. Now, tapes do come in 30, 45, and 60-minute sides, so they are analog, and they do have, it's basically a magnetic strip tape that goes over a magnetic head player, and it reproduces the analog sound of whatever you recorded or those types of things. So like I said, very, very cool. Now, reel-to-reel was very popular, but like I said, it was super cumbersome, super heavy. You actually had to have some knowledge on how to use a reel-to-reel, and it was kind of hard to use and not portable, those types of things, or not as portable as a tape. So very cool. So tapes definitely popped up really, really popular, like I said, with the invention of those Sony Walkman from the 80s to the 90s. But that Sony Walkman went out in 2010, and then also media changed fantastically through the 90s. So of course, through the 90s, I was still seeing records, but I was using tapes. But then CDs came out and definitely did away with the tape for sure, but still battled vinyl records in my opinion. So what are positives, pros and cons between vinyl, tapes, and CDs? Well, reason why tapes, in my opinion, aren't going to make a humongous comeback is because tapes, the quality just wasn't there in my opinion. They also have a lifespan of only 10 to 30 years. Also, the more you play them, just like you know with a VHS tape, the more you play them, the more it wears down. You had tracking issues. All those tapes, it's very similar. So you had that tape hiss. You had the bleed over from side A to side B sometimes. The sound, some people are going to vouch for the sound, that it was super warm, sounded fantastic, but in my opinion, frequencies are kind of dull a little bit, and yes, it did have some warm sound, but it still wasn't fantastic when it came to sound compared to when the CD came out. So CDs definitely have, the highest quality digital sound. still use the same format today when it comes to like even MP3s or WAV files. Use kind of the same format, or can use the same quality sound as they call it CD format. But I think CDs were the best way to kind of prolong things. CDs last a lot longer as long as you're not getting them scratched up. They produce a great sound, and it's kind of the standard today that they have for audio, you know, CD sound quality, and then it goes up from there. So very, very cool. Now, vinyl still hangs around, in my opinion, because of the hardware. You can ask any audiophile out there that you can buy the greatest amp, the greatest receiver, the greatest stylus, the greatest record player, and you can still reproduce great sound from a vinyl record. And vinyl records have just been hanging in there since then. Like I said, I was really surprised that tapes have been around since 1963, and companies like Maxwell, TDK, Philips, all were producing, Sony, were producing tapes and things like that. I think vinyl's definitely sticking around, but the most popular things today is, of course, your CDs and your vinyl. Still not tapes. So, how are tapes kind of making a comeback? Like I said, pop culture, guys. Nostalgia, movies. So movies that definitely made it popular was like Guardians of the Galaxy, who released, you know, you saw it in the movie, he had a Sony Walkman and he was playing his mixtape on it. And them releasing like a tape like this was definitely very popular to bring tapes back a little bit. And I think it's just kind of still popping on, but I think it's more of a fad, a trend, because I just don't think the quality of tapes are any better. And that's one thing that I think is holding them back. Now, the popularity for tapes was the ability to be able to share your music. You were able to make a mixtape. You were able to record music from the radio or from another, you know, maybe a record player, those types of things. And you could record and then share it with somebody. Because it's very hard to reproduce a record. You have to have certain machines to make them, and it's all a crazy, you know, process. But to have a tape was very easy to get a recorder, put the tape in there, press record, and record music from the radio, record your voice, and and it was very easy to share that audio with somebody. So it was very easy. And I think that was what was super popular about tapes, was the ability to share media with other people, and very nostalgic at the same time. So definitely something that I did. Like I said, at the age of 10, I had a Sony boombox, and boom, I was making some tapes and sharing those mixtapes with people, having fun, and using them for myself as well. I wasn't, you know, selling music or anything. I was definitely just sharing music with myself, enjoying to be able to replay that song over and over and over, because you didn't really have that ability unless you purchased the tape, or you later on in the 90s got a CD or something like that. So this was the easy way to get that done in the, you know, 80s and 90s, until the invention of music streaming and digital media, MP3s, WAV files, and, you know, formats like that. So very, very cool and very nostalgic at the same time. Now, you can still buy recording tapes on Amazon. This is a TDK D90, and these are like $10, somewhere around there. And this still looks like the cover from 1966 when it came out, and it actually says that. It doesn't say that it's the same cover, but it does say that the TD Corporation 1966 on the back of it. So it's cool that you can still get tapes, you can still do recordings, you could still make a mixtape if you want, but you were able to do that as well with CDs. So I can still have a laptop, grab a disc player, and I can still make digital music into CDs and share a CD with people, because I think a lot more people have CD players still around in their house, or even have a PlayStation or an Xbox with a DVD drive that will still play CDs as well. So they're able to play these a lot more available than a lot of people having tape players. I don't know a lot of people who have tape players still in their house. I do, because I like having all kinds of media. So you can buy pretty cheap ones like this SM336. You can get this on Amazon for 30 to 50 bucks, and you can play your tape at least, and you can listen to it if you want to get retro. If you want to get a Sony Walkman or any kind of excellent tape player that's still out there, or old retro devices, you might get price gouged because they're trying to sell these for ridiculous prices. And so that's the problem with tapes. The hardware is not there anymore. You can't find great tape players anymore. You can't find those things that you could find back in the day. And so that's kind of the problem today, is the hardware is not there for tapes. There's a couple companies still making tape players that might be okay, like FIIO might be trying to bring back a tape player, but there's not a lot of companies doing that. And so it's going to be really hard for tapes to take off today in 2025, although there are artists still releasing new albums and things like that, re-releasing things in the tape format. And I think it might be for retro purposes, just to say, oh yeah, look, I have this tape, kind of like this Guardians of the Galaxy tape that I have that's still in the plastic. It's fun to say I have this, but I don't think I'll ever open this and play this, because I can find all the music digitally on a computer or a streaming site or things like that. So I think it's more of a retro fad right now to have a tape, but I don't think I'll be purchasing a lot of tapes, in my opinion, unless it's some kind of collector thing that I might want to just pick up and hold on to. So that's kind of where I'm at. So just some things to think about. Once again, CDs, high quality, still the standard today for quality. And so CDs last a little bit longer as long as you're not scratching them up, and also can take a little bit more abuse from climate temperature, unlike tapes, where if you left them in your car, they would get warped and they wouldn't work very, very well. Also, cold could affect them as well. Vinyl's still very popular today, and I think that's because of the hardware that you can get. You can get great record players, stylus, needles, all those types of things, and it still makes vinyl sound fantastic, in my opinion. So those types of things, kind of like this stylus from Ortophone, where still makes your record sound fantastic because they keep upgrading these types of items to make everything sound great. Kind of just my finishing touches here. Popularity of tapes. So even in 2023, they sold 400,000 copies, but vinyl records have still been the top tier for growth, with 44 million records sold in 2023, which is crazy for me to think that people are still buying so much vinyl in 2023. Don't have the new numbers, but that's what we had there. And then 2023, 33 million CDs were still sold. So I still think if you really have a retro vibe, bring back CDs, bring back vinyl, but I don't think tapes are going to make it, in my opinion. Just for everything that we talked about, the sound quality, like I said, the hardware, and the price gouging for trying to bring back that old equipment. Also, companies are just not making new equipment for tapes, and so you might be able to find something to play your old tapes if you kind of just want to listen to them, but you're not going to find anything of great audio fidelity or standing for new equipment made for tapes these days. So I think it's more of a nostalgia thing. I think it's more of a collector thing, that these artists like Nirvana, Billie Eilish, Aerosmith, Sabrina Carpenter brought out a new album, T.I., Britney Spears, Taylor Swift. All these artists might bring some kind of retroness back into tapes so you can buy it as a collector type thing, but I don't think it's going to be fantastically played on anything that you have these days, unless you still have some great vintage tape decks or players out there. So that's kind of my opinions and my twists, kind of what I want to talk about today. Do you think tapes can come back? And tell me your stories about tapes, guys. Did you have a tape that you thought sounded fantastic? and then you listen to the CD today and it might sound a little bit different. But I will admit, I like tapes. I had a lot of tapes because, like I said, I made a lot of mix CDs. I was a DJ back then. I loved to just make recordings and have them, play them, let people borrow them, and just enjoy music because I loved sharing music with people. Once CDs got more popular and I was able to make a mix CD, just like that mix tape, I moved on to CDs. The quality was better, like I said, they last, the longevity was better, those types of things, and so tapes kind of faded out for me. I still have a box of old tapes. Some of them sound good, some of them don't sound as good anymore, but a CD, some of these CDs that I have in the CD book still sound fantastic. Some of them are scratched and some of them might not be as good, but definitely better in longevity with the CD than the tape. So bring back CDs, keep making those vinyls. I truly enjoy vinyl records and I truly enjoy CDs. I think if you're looking for an old retro album or retro, you even say album to these days if you're looking for an album, but if you're looking for an old artist that you want to pick up an old track or album that they have, I would go with the CD or the vinyl if you can find it. If you can't find it, then the next option is go with that CD. You can still find hardware, CD players, and those types of things that sound fantastic at a decent price as well with those items than with the tape. If you're going to try to find a tape player that's a great tape player, you're going to get price gouged. You're going to be paying a lot for it. But if that's something that you want, it could be out there for you. Like I said, I think tapes are going to be more of a retro thing, more of a trend, more of a fad, and a collector thing that if you want a tape and you want to kind of display that somewhere, that's fantastic. But like I said, I think a lot more people like displaying their albums and their CD covers more than they might want to display this tape that they picked up. So all the stuff is still out there, just so you know, but like I said, it's kind of priced up and you might have issues finding hardware or players. I will flash a picture of the FIIO and leave some links for things that you might need if you want to get back into tapes. If you have some tapes, you want to bring them out of the garage and hopefully they're not warped and things like that, and they still play okay. Like a tape cleaner is something that you might want to put in those old tape players. They basically have like a little fabric material. You put a little of the cleaning solution on it and you let them play, and it's going to clean those magnetic heads on that tape player. Good thing to have. There's also YouTube videos out there of how to do that with the Q-tip as well. You might check those out. But very cool. They do have tape players still that you can pick up and you can transfer them to digital as well. Or a thumb drive, and then put them on a laptop if you wanted to save some of those things that were on the tape, because remember, like I said, those tapes have a lifespan of 10 to 30 years, and so they might be getting there. So definitely might want to invest into something like this. I will leave a link for that. But you can also make your own mixtape still. You can buy blank tapes, and you can still buy tape recorders that will just record for dictation and things like that. You can still find those around and play some of your old tapes as well. So all right guys, well, good luck. Hopefully this is informational. Good luck if you want to bring back the tapes, but like I said, I just don't think it's going to happen in my opinion. If you want to collect some things like that, I think that's an option, but other than that, that's all I got for you. Please like, subscribe, and share, and we'll see you really soon on my next video or tutorial.